On the news tonight, federal government rolls out consumer credit scheme to enhance economic growth. U.S. report says 2023 elections reflect the will of voters but marred by violence. 118 inmates escape as a downpour destroys Niger prison. Good evening, and we are glad to have you join us on the major reports. I am Olubumi Ajiboye Agbuola. The federal government has stated that it has rolled out a consumer credit scheme aimed at putting money in the pockets of Nigerians, boost manufacturing, and stimulate economic growth. Presidential spokesman Ajuri Ngilale announced the commencement of the plan following its approval by President Bola Tinubu. According to Igilale, apart from empowering Nigerians to improve their quality of life, the program will also lead to access to goods and services. He hinted that the first phase of the program will be available to civil servants before its extension to other Nigerians. He said President Tinubu believes every hardworking Nigerian should have access to social mobility, with consumer credits playing a pivotal role in achieving the vision. Earlier, the Minister for Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, noted that 100 billion naira is included in the year's budget for the program. The 2023 country report on human rights practices in Nigeria by the U.S. Department of State has shed light on various irregularities and challenges faced during the elections held in the country last year. The report acknowledged that the elections largely reflected the will of voters, while highlighted issues that marred the electoral process. According to the report, many independent observers assessed the results of the presidential, legislative, and state-level elections during the year reflected the will of voters, despite reports of voter suppression and vote buying, campaigning at polling stations, lack of ballot secrecy, violence, and intimidation. The report also highlighted the persistent underrepresentation of women and marginalized groups in Nigerian politics, rated the national average of women's political participation in Nigeria as 6.7% in elected and appointed positions, citing religious, cultural, economic barriers as contributing factors. Politicians found guilty of tax evasion will be barred from seeking elective offices if proposed executive bill is passed. The plan was made known by Chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, at the 2024 Strategic Retreat for staff of the Joint Tax Board in Abuja. Oyedele outlined key reforms on tax compliance among politicians and the plan to set up a national tax amnesty program. He said an amendment to an existing tax law will be sent to the National Assembly to ensure tax compliance and prevent defaults by the political class. Oyedele unfolded plans for a tax amnesty program later this year, tagged the voluntary disclosure or declaration program, revealing that the core objective is to encourage tax compliance. The Osun State Chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Comrade Wasiu Ajadoshu, has commended the executive of the Osun NUJ Cooperative Investment and Credit Society Limited for competing with other societies and for their efforts in promoting the society towards betterment of the entire members. The chairman gave the commendation while addressing members of the Cooperative Society at the first annual general meeting held at the State Council of the Union in Osogbo, the state capital. Comrade Ajadoshu noted that journalists rarely have time to think of their personal welfare, especially on financial management and business orientation that would enhance the living standard of members. He commended the journalists in the state, most especially those who are members of the society, for bringing the idea of the cooperative into reality despite challenges. Comrade Ajadoshu, however, charged the executive to continue to nurture the association into becoming one of the formidable institutions in the midst of others in the state. In his remarks, the president of the society, Mr. Sunday Adediran, who was highly elated, commended other members of the executive and pledged to continue to work as a team, as well as entire members of the society, towards achieving the goals of the cooperative society. Residents and indigenes of Bogon have been enjoined to be more patriotic and work in synergy for the growth and development of the ancient town. Olufi of Bogon, Oba Adetoyeshe Oyeniyi Odugbeme I, gave the charge at a press briefing held at his palace. Navisat Oyedele has details.
Oba Adetoyeshe said the aim of the briefing is to draw the attention of the public to the three chiefs that are working against the traditional responsibilities and expectations of their titles. The monarch who announced the indefinite suspension of Ongpetu of Gbangan, Minor Chief Kazim Adekunle Afolabi, Baale Rufai Lawal of Olubula Community Gbangan, Baale Samson Oyegunle Odekunmi of Sewe Community Gbangan, said the decision was reached as a result of their moves to distort the Ayedade Traditional Council chieftaincy, their disregard for the office of the Olufi of Gbangan, and other inappropriate behaviors with tendencies to cause traditional and social crisis in the town. Oba Adetoyeshe maintained that only direct descendants of Olufi Oye are recognized by the tradition and constitution to be crowned in the town.
My advice for people that we should remain united. The peace we have enjoyed in this town is tremendous. We have been very, very low. Not all junction towns are easy to live in. There's a junction town like Benin, but with the glory of God and our own little effort, the Lord will happen any public incident, and of course the law enforcement agency they work as soon as God is their town. Even those that are not your business. So we're very, very fortunate, and I want to say that we should continue. Then, as for this issue, we have faced it realistically.
In his remarks, High Chief Mikael Olabamiji, Osa of Gbangan, said all sons and daughters of the ancient town are in support of the indefinite suspension, as the actions of the suspended chiefs are capable of depreciating the progress and socio-cultural beliefs of the town. Chief Olabamiji, who called on all residents and indigenes of Gbangan to continue to maintain peace, assured that all relevant agencies have been contacted and efforts are being made towards the progress of the town. Also present at the briefing were chiefs, dignitaries, indigenes, and well-wishers of the ancient town. Nafisat Oyedele reporting for Osbc News.
Osun State Ministry of Women, Children and Social Affairs has rescued a 27-day-old baby from the custody of her unsound mother at INEC area, Oke Ogun, Ilaorogun. A press release signed by the Commissioner for Women, Children and Social Affairs, Mrs. Ayobola Awolowo, and the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Abimbola Babatunde, revealed that all efforts made by the police and the social workers of the ministry to locate the relatives of the unsound mother were fruitless. The release therefore enjoined members of the public with any relevant information about the location of the unsound woman relative to provide it to the Ministry of Women and Children and Social Affairs in the best interest of the child and the public at large. Also, a month-old baby has been retrieved from its mentally retarded mother at Odogbe, Oja Tutu Market, Ile-Ife. A press release signed by the Commissioner for Women, Children and Social Affairs, Mrs. Ayobola Awolowo. The Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Abimbola Babatunde, revealed that all efforts made by the police and the social workers of the ministry to locate the relatives of the unsound mother were fruitless. The release therefore enjoined members of the public to assist with any useful information that may possibly lead to the location of the relations of the mother of the baby who suffers mental retardation. Meanwhile, a 2-year-old boy, Ademola Tohib Oriyomi, has been found around Palm Crest area, Owode by the Ministry of Women, Children and Social Affairs. A press release signed by the Commissioner, Mrs. Ayobola Awolowo, and the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Abimbola Babatunde, revealed that all efforts made by the police and the social workers and the ministry to locate the biological parents of the boy were fruitless. The release therefore enjoined members of the public to assist with any useful information that may possibly lead to the location of his parents or relatives. The first session of the 13th Synod of the Diocese of Osun Anglican Communion begins tomorrow with an opening service and ends with a synod closing Thanksgiving service. All at All Souls Anglican Church, Okefia, Oshogbo. Theme of the synod is Christian marriage and its challenges. In the beginning, it was not so. In a press release signed by the chairman of the local organizing committee of Synod 2024, Engineer Oluwashola Abikoye, the president of the Synod, the Right Reverend Dr. Folusho Babatunji, will deliver his presidential address at the formal opening ceremonies. Also, the pre-event of the Synod is the turning of the sword for the diocesan bishop, new house building at the diocesan headquarters, Isalearo, Oshogbo. Other events include lectures, motions, Bible studies, among others. A downpour has wreaked havoc on the medium security custodial center in Suleja, Niger State, resulting in extensive damage to the facility and facilitating the escape of 118 inmates. This was disclosed in a statement signed by the spokesperson, Federal Capital Territory Command of the Nigeria Correctional Service, Adamu Duza. Duza noted that the downpour caused severe damage to the custodial center's infrastructure, including a breach in the perimeter fence, which allowed the inmates to flee. According to him, the NCOs swiftly activated its recapturing protocols, collaborating with other security agencies to recover 10 of the escaped inmates. He said efforts to recapture the remaining fleeing inmates are ongoing, and the public was encouraged to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activities or sightings of escaped inmates to the nearest security agency. To end the major reports, here's a recap of some of the top stories. The federal government has rolled out a consumer credit scheme aimed to stimulate the economic growth. We also reported that the United States report acknowledged that the 2023 elections in Nigeria reflected the will of voters but marred by violence and suppression. We also brought you a report that 118 inmates escaped from prison in Niger State during a downpour that wreaked havoc on the custodial center in Suleja. And that ends the major report on Osbc TV. It was edited by Adebari Jumakinde. I am Olubumi Ajiboye Agbola, wishing you a pleasant evening and good night.